What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Lesser Athletes. My name is Chadwell, and today, like always, another interesting video for you here on the channel. Today is, in my opinion, how they should have booked Sami Zayn. We are just going to look at the most recent booking of Sami Zayn, aka from when he just beat Karrion Kross to what it is now and how that affects the future of Sami Zayn. And I just moved my whole entire camera. I think, in my opinion, we can all agree that Sami Zayn has had a questionable booking decision recently. And that booking decision is his move to SmackDown and going after the US title. Now, I have a couple routes he could go. I only have one route in this video. I actually debated on making a couple different routes where he turns heel, he's more aggressive, he's more likely to do something else. But today's video is going to be mostly just him being the underdog babyface Sami Zayn, which I think people want, or he wants, and other people want. And for that reason, we're going to book like that because that's what WWE wants. And we are going to fully just continue his trajectory as that underdog, but in a strategic and smart way, in my opinion. Now, this video made me, I made this video, honestly, because I left a comment on K the Crusher's comment on the Royal Rumble video, if I'm not mistaken. And so it has now put me in a trajectory of me just, for some reason I thought on the side, it just fully blanked. Me just thinking about what the potential could have been if they would have done this, and now me talking about this. I don't think it's exactly what would have happened. I don't think this is the exact best way you could have done this. I think there's a lot of different ways you could have done this. But yeah, let's talk about it. So I'm still going to say in this scenario that Karrion Kross loses to Sami Zayn. Now there's two different ways you go about this. He beats Karrion Kross the exact same way, or he beats Karrion Kross using the pipe to give Karrion Kross the mental win. But I think the reason why he didn't use the pipe is because they knew that Karrion Kross wasn't coming back, obviously. But beating him, Karrion Kross beating Sami Zayn mentally would have turned into, I think, a heelish Sami Zayn. But that's not the route we're going to and going after, because, in my opinion, most likely we're going to keep doing that underdog persona that they wanted to do. So this is where we kind of start our new scenario. Sami Zayn comes to Raw, which he did go to Raw right after, but then he started into some Rusev match, and then he lost that match, which sent him to SmackDown, supposedly, and go after the US title, which makes absolutely no sense and got a lot of fans to turn on him. We're going to fix those mistakes today. Sami Zayn comes to Raw and demands a world title match now. Now, we're still going to have in the Raw after LA Knight be in the mix and say, Rollins, you screwed me over and you tricked me. We're going to have CM Punk in the mix saying, you screwed me over. We have Jey Uso in the mix saying, well, I still want my rematch clause I never got from Gunther, and I want it on you for what you've caused. Sure, I actually just wanted to say no Jey Uso in this so we can still have Sami Zayn in some shape, way, or form. Decided not to. Roman Reigns is heel and still wants Seth too. Now, this could be at a hint at a Survivor Series team, but I don't think that's the case because of this scenario. I don't think there could be a Survivor Series team. But Sami makes a deal with Paul Heyman, which could hint a little bit as a more heelish move. Again, another hint at maybe a more heelish Sami Zayn, which maybe that's how he beats, you know, some people in the future, which we'll talk about. But Sami makes a deal with Paul Heyman, and let's talk about that deal. The deal is, Sami, I'm going to give you a new offer. You can have your world title shot. And I feel like this is how they should have framed it. They should have framed it as, I give you a shot to get world title match at SmackDown if you went and stayed on SmackDown. Now I'm going to give you a world title shot here, but, if you lose, you have to go to SmackDown. So obviously, maybe the next Monday Night Raw, we would get a main event of Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker for the Raw match. A huge main event. No one knows if he's going to get the title match. Everyone probably thinks he's going to get the title match for Clash in Paris. And they end Raw with a shocking twist. And that is Sami Zayn is getting sent to SmackDown. So this is how the match goes. Sami's about to win. Punk/Knight/Jay cost Sami the win. I'm not going to go Roman Reigns because I think Roman Reigns would go after Bronson Reed. And in my opinion, I think it would be Punk, Knight, or Jay costing Sami. Now, Could they do this to set up maybe a heel Sami again and a more ruthless Sami for the future? Yes, maybe against a Punk saying like, you cost me that time where I could have won a championship. Same with LA Knight. I don't think LA Knight makes more sense. Jey Uso is the real person. I think if he would have cost Sami Zayn that, my God, he could have gone to SmackDown, blamed Jimmy a little bit. There would have been this endless tunnel and endless cycle of him blaming the Uso. But I have it ultimately maybe like how LA Knight lost to Braun Break. Ooh, was it? No, was that the Go Home episode? Or what was the... No, Jey Uso beat that. What was the second main event? Why am I blanking on that? I don't remember now. For some reason, I don't remember that. But now, but ultimately, I have Sami Zayn getting cost, and maybe it's some kind of place where Jey Uso is about to spear Braun Breaker and about to help Sami Zayn continue and get a chance at the Raw, or go after Seth Rollins, who's now inside the match, and he spears Sami Zayn. Jey Uso spears Sami Zayn, and it caused this huge ripple effect, where ultimately you have Braun Breaker spearing Sami Zayn, destroying Sami Zayn, and then the episode ends with Sami Zayn realizing he has to get off Raw and he's going to SmackDown. Now, the reason why I like this is it's going to help the storyline of Sami's underdog and Sami Zayn not being in this cycle, which I think is a problem. And having Sami Zayn here, it makes some sense. Sami has a story against Seth Rollins without him being on Raw. And that's the thing that I like about this storyline, is because, in my opinion, the past couple of weeks, and I think a lot of people can agree, I don't think it's getting stale. I think it's going to be, well, later on in the future, maybe a little stale, but I think it's a showcase of how they're doing the Seth Rollins story already, which is there's so many bay faces circling the waters of wanting to get the Seth Rollins, but only one can get the prize. So you have LA Knight looking like a heel towards CM Punk, which is not great. You have Jey Uso turning on CM Punk, not great. You have all these guys turning on each other for the gold. And in my opinion, yes, I understand it, but we're going to see this cycle go on. And I don't think it's going to be a great cycle in the future. Now, let's be honest here. If there's a chance for maybe Seth Rollins losing his title in the future, if you keep having these people in the cycle, it's not going to mean as much if you keep doing these matches nonstop, while the person that could do it is on a different brand. So you set up a future for Sami Zayn potentially going after Seth Rollins without Seth Rollins actually and Sami Zayn having those real interactions. Maybe there's slight interactions with Seth maybe on SmackDown. Maybe there's slight interactions through GMs or through Seth Rollins saying, do we have to worry about Sami Zayn? And Paul Heyman said, I have this all under control on my own. There's stuff like that where I would really like SmackDown and Sami Zayn hinting towards Raw, saying, I will get on this show again. But maybe it does make Raw look like the more competitive, better show. But at this point, I think we all know that's true. So let's look at Sami's SmackDown route. I'm not going to change too much on what I think they would want to do. I think it would be the story of Sami Zayn, the underdog, trying to get back to Raw. He would keep the underdog story, but now it makes sense he's an underdog, where he did try to go against the Vision. He lost. He has to build himself up. He's at the very bottom right now, and he's going to try and build himself up all the way to the top of the mountain again. But right now, he's on a different thing, on a different journey. And honestly, I think he just goes through the mid-card scene. Maybe there's some matches that he's still losing, but I think he's going to try and rebuild himself to keep asking for opportunities that would maybe likely not go his way. So I have him doing this till maybe December, maybe there's something with him asking for certain spots to try and get to Raw. Can't do it, and he's losing matches. But then he starts to build momentum, I would say around December. Which now leads us to one of our main things that we're going to talk about, and it's Sami gets his number for the Royal Rumble. And I think this is how you would go with the story, in my opinion, is Sami's been off SmackDown for the whole time. They kind of had to separate Roman and Cody for a long time when they were building him up to go after Roman Reigns again. I think it's the same way where Sami Zayn's on SmackDown. He gets his number for the Royal Rumble, realizing it's his only chance to get back at Raw and to get revenge on Seth Rollins. Now, in this story, I do believe in real life, it is going to be Seth versus Roman at WrestleMania 42 without the title. And I don't see Seth versus Sami actually happening. But in this story and how if you would want to really book Sami Zayn to be a world champion, I think you build Sami through this Rumble and realize it's his only way to go back to Raw, which is exactly why we're going to build Sami Zayn to win the 2026 Royal Rumble and challenge Seth. It would be the perfect way if you are separating Seth Rollins and Sami Zayn for the full year that you're kind of been hinting at this potential match. You separate him for all those months ahead, then you get him back on Raw to have the whole build up where he can still have all these different matches to still build up the story, but you get Sami Zayn winning in Saudi and immediately challenge Seth Rollins, and he gets a new match that has been a background story. I was like, why did I say background story? That has been a background story on SmackDown where he's still trying to build himself to get to that Raw. And Sami finally wins the big championship. He finally goes to WrestleMania. He goes against Seth Rollins, wins the championship. And maybe there's heel antics throughout his SmackDown run where he's starting to feel like he has to be a heel-ish to win, which I don't know if they would want to do that with Sami Zayn. That's why I didn't book it in here. I try to be realistic on somewhat of the booking. But I just think if you are wanting to build Sami Zayn into a Royal Rumble winner, I think this is the route you go. I think this is what they should have done. And I think a lot of people wouldn't have turned as much on Sami Zayn when it came down to him now going for the US title and having it and going to SmackDown. If you had some story that basically just said, Sami, we want you, we need you on SmackDown. How can we get you and make it realistic to go on SmackDown? All you do is this. This is the exact way that I think you do it, and I think it makes the most sense. So this is my story on how you should book Sami Zayn or should have booked Sami Zayn. And I think you still can technically salvage a little of this story, in my opinion. Like, for example, you could have Sami Zayn going after this US title, not working, going through the division, and then still winning the Royal Rumble at the end of the day and challenging Seth Rollins for that title. Now, does it happen still? I don't really know, but I think it would be an excellent story that you could have two stories, and it also really highlights the vision on both shows, which would be great for you. But it allows the Punks, the Jey Usos, the LA Knights, whoever else who would go to Raw, try to go after Seth Rollins. And ultimately, you have a new, fresh story of Sami Zayn beating Seth Rollins. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know anything down in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.